It's been a while since my last video, but I've been working on a full-length documentary and I needed some time to get my ducks in a row. Well, it's a nice winter's day here in sunny California, and the blue skies and great weather have me appreciating being outdoors. There are those that claim that spending a few minutes in the sun each day is healthy because when the skin is exposed to sunlight, it makes vitamin D. There are others that take it a step further and claim to absorb another type of nourishment directly from the sun, what is referred to in the East as heavenly chi or ki, prana, or life force. While one can get vitamin D from food and supplements, the life force energy is regarded as energetically very subtle and is said to be absorbed through the eyes, breath, and it's so subtle that it theoretically even responds to thought. While some of my subscribers prefer that I don't cover this topic as they consider the subject of alchemy or the occult as pseudoscience, I would argue that there's been considerable amount of legitimate research conducted into this mysterious life force energy, which complements the thousands of years of testimonials passed down in various cultures around the world. While the names have changed, the energy which is being described is the same. Whether it be called Orgone, the name coined by William Reich to describe the energy he claimed to be able to harness inside of a box called an Orgone accumulator, which he even demonstrated for Albert Einstein, or the term aether, which is also known as quintessence, which according to medieval alchemists is a subtle energy that permeates the universe, and since ancient times has been known as the fifth element, along with the other four elements of fire, water, earth, and air. In India, the term prana is popular and is often associated with yogic breathing techniques, which according to Hindu literature, prana is sometimes described as originating from the sun and connecting the elements, meaning there's some of it contained within all of the other elements. The concept is also popular among the ancient Tibetans, as well as German occult secret societies of the 19th and 20th century that claim to have ancient Aryan origins in common with cultures of the East. In pre-World War II Germany, this life force energy was known as Vril, and the term was made popular by a book published in 1871 by Edward Buehler-Lytton called Vril, the Power of the Coming Race. The energy form was called Vril, and the race mentioned in the title were called Vrilia, and described as a subterranean branch of humanity that, while genetically similar and related to us, were considered superior because of their heightened psychic abilities, which revolved around their ability to manipulate this life force energy, whether it be to heal or create, or in a destructive context. While the book was published as fiction, Edward Buehler-Lytton has been regarded as an initiate in esoteric circles, and has also published novels concerning Rosicrucianism, and was appointed the title of Grand Patron by a Rosicrucian order in 1870, and there are disputed claims that he was a member of various esoteric lodges. So while it's difficult to conclusively prove, many other known occultists seemed very convinced of his status and fully endorsed the views presented in his book in alignment with what secret societies believed to be true. While Madame Blavatsky herself wrote about ancient legends of underground civilizations such as Shambhala or Asgard or Agartha, the German government in the 30s is also documented as having attempted to make contact with these subterranean people, whether it be during expeditions to Tibet or while establishing their own underground bases in places like Antarctica, deep below the ice. That said, it's difficult to provide empirical evidence as the United States continues to classify data pertaining to matters concerning underground bases, such as Operation High Jump, where the post-World War II Allied forces sent thousands of armed soldiers and 3 aircraft carriers in a military invasion of Antarctica, where they suffered a humiliating defeat, according to reports given to a South American newspaper by Admiral Byrd after his retreat. Yet the US government still calls it a scientific research project. Recent research has shown that Bueller-Lytton developed his ideas about Vril against the background of his long preoccupation with occult natural forces, which were widely discussed at the time, especially in relation to animal magnetism and mesmerism, which I covered in a recent video, which I'll leave a link to in the description. In his earlier novels, he had discussed electricity and other material agents as the possible natural causes for occult phenomena. In regards to the book Vril and the Coming Race, Bueller-Lytton explained in a letter to his friend, John Forster, quote, "I did not mean Vril for mesmerism, but for electricity developed into uses as yet only dimly guessed, and including whatever there may be genuine in mesmerism, which I hold to be a mere branch current of one great fluid pervading all nature. The coming race, though akin to us, has nevertheless acquired by hereditary transmission, etc., certain distinctions which make it a different species, and contains powers which we could not attain through a slow growth of time, so that this race would not amalgamate with, but destroy us. Now, as some bodies are charged with electricity, like the torpedo or electric eel, and never can communicate that power to other bodies, so I suppose the existence of a race charged with that electricity, and having acquired the art to concenter and direct it, in a word, to be conductors of its lightnings." So he considered Vril to be a real bio-electromagnetic energy related to a great fluid pervading all of nature. Another 19th century researcher into this all-pervading life force energy was Baron Carl von Reichenbach, a notable chemist, geologist, metallurgist, naturalist, industrialist, philosopher, and a member of the prestigious Prussian Academy of Sciences. He was best known for his discoveries of several chemical products of economic importance, but dedicated himself in his last years to researching this elusive universal energy, which he claimed combined electricity and magnetism and could be detected emanating from all living things, which he called the Odic force, coining the name from that of the Norse god Odin. He said that the Odic force had a positive and negative flux and a light and dark side, and individuals could forcefully emanate it, particularly from the hands, mouth, and forehead. This seems to have many parallels to the Japanese healing technique called Reiki, in which energy is transferred through the practitioner's hands to influence various parts of the patient's body, and by extension various forms of Tantra, which have many various techniques and can be found in traditions ranging from Hindu and Buddhism to Jainism, the Tibetan Bon tradition, Taoism, and the Japanese Shinto tradition. In 6 programs, we'll try to find out if alternative medicine can actually be helpful for treating real diseases. Therefore, I have challenged Professor and Chief Physician from the University Hospital in Aalborg. I believe that the scientists are very alternative. We are generally very skeptic towards everything, not least to our own treatments, but I still believe that most alternative medicine simply does not work. If by alternative you mean something that hasn't been proved to work and the purpose of the treatment is to be cured by it, then I can't really say that I believe that it works. Ashbourne and Jonick provided some quite unique special equipment such as MR scanners, thermal imaging camera, ultrasound, and ECG so that we can hopefully clarify some things in the world of alternative treatments. Alternative treatment, does it work? We're at the Technical University of Denmark in Riso, where we have 2 scientists assisting us with the thermal imaging camera. With a thermal imaging camera, you can measure even the slightest differences in temperature, and our purpose is to use the camera to measure if the hands of the healer are giving away any radiant effect to the person receiving the healing. It is also important to find a type of healing where you can measure and show a clear effect on the person receiving the treatment. Somananda is a healer visiting us from Estonia, where he normally works and teaches, and he's practicing a type of healing that is perfect for our experiment.
This is a practice that involves focusing on the energy, but of course, what kind of energy is the big question. We'll move a bit of that energy in myself and in the model that will be working with me here.
Somananda's technique is perfect for us since it can prove the effect of the healing in a very visual way.
Ultimately, this can be also involving what we call in Tantra the sexual energy, because that's also a type of energy in the human being. And by kind of channeling that energy through the body, myself and the person with me, there should be some effects. And the effects are usually that the person starts feeling shivers of energy in the body. It moves on to bringing eventually some healing effects. It's very relaxing, but also healing. And eventually it can even become an orgasmic feeling. So it's really beautiful in many ways. Remember, we're starting by just sitting next to your partner for now. You don't even have to touch yet. Try to feel her energy.
Somananda's technique is based on different kinds of massages that he now teaches all around the world.
In the beginning, it doesn't come immediately as some mind-blowing orgasm. It actually comes as a release of emotions, very old emotions, or various other blockages, which could be their psychosomatic blockages, or even physical issues that they might have had. When you feel the time is right to move your hands around, do that gently. Remember, you can touch different parts of the body and just help her to energize the body and to become more sensitive.
It is apparently possible for anyone to take this course and to learn his technique in just a few days.
To be honest, everybody would like to improve their sex life. Even if you're not looking to go into Tantra for the purpose of spirituality, which is totally fine, you can still take from Tantra something that'll help your relationship, your health, and even your sex life. Why not? Becoming multi-orgasmic is relatively easy in Tantra, for men and women.
We have invited 3 persons to our experiment where Somananda is aiming to heal them into an orgasmic state without touching them. 2 of the women have chosen to participate anonymously in the experiment. All of the subjects get blindfolded so that they can't see who is healing them or what kind of movements or gestures are used.
Of course, it can be a bit strange for the average person to think of healing with orgasm together, but it is an incredibly healing energy. This is a fact. The point is that energy by definition is not something which is physical, and therefore when you learn how to concentrate the mind, you can actually control and move energy. And that's why in the yoga tradition there's a simple rule that says energy always follows the mind. And if the mind is concentrated and strong enough, it's possible to concentrate and move that energy where you want it to go. And because of that, when I concentrate, I can do that even without the physical touch.
The first subject receiving the healing is used to this type of treatment. When we practice the healing on one of the other subjects who never tried healing before, the effect is much less noticeable. But that's not the point. What our experiment is about is to demonstrate if there's any provable difference in the hands of the healer compared to normal hands. So without the subject's knowledge, I will change places with Somananda during the treatment, and the subject's reaction is surprising. Almost immediately after changing places, she calms down and lies almost perfectly still. Before the experiment, both Samananda and I washed and disinfected our hands so that no smell would reveal us in front of the subject. So the subject has no chance of knowing who is healing her at what time, and no smell or sound reveal us changing places. But as soon as Samananda is back and his hands are moving over her body, she wakes up again.
For you, I'm sure you have a lot of skills in many, fields, but when it comes to this field, you haven't trained in that. And if you don't trigger the energies in yourself as I do and as I teach people to do, then obviously at some point there will be a kind of receding of the energy, and then you find yourself trying to do it without much results. And then I step in and I, again, ignite the energy because I know how to move my energy as well. And then the cycle starts happening again. The synchronicity takes place. The resonance is in play.
As a scientist, one would like to think that there's a perfectly natural explanation for this. But I admit that when sitting here and looking at it, it looks a bit strange. But we can't see any changes in the temperature due to the healing with the camera. It is hard to explain exactly what is going on. Do you have any explanation on how the subject can tell the difference between us? Well, not really, no. Not in a scientific way, anyway. Is there any difference between our hands? Well, haha, let's just say he knows something that you don't. You obviously still have some things left to learn. There must be some kind of suggestion. But how? She can't see me. But to be serious, it's very strange. How can she possibly know when it's my hands and when it's his hands? But it's really hard to give any logical and biological explanation. I don't believe in it, let's just say that. But what we could try is to get some brain measurements and some more precise body measurements to see what's going on. Yes, we could be able to see the differences between your hands and the healer's hands and how it affects the nervous system. That could be really interesting. We're back and continuing our healing experiment. The experiment aims to show what makes the subject know the difference between our hands. This time, we're using two subjects and they both get a cap with electrodes on it so that the experiment's team leader, Christina Bach, and her team can see what's going on in the brain and how it reacts during our experiment. What do you feel is going on while you're receiving the treatment? When I receive the energy, yes. It's not so much only in the brain. I can feel it in my whole body. It really is a full body orgasmic feeling. This time it's a little bit different. We are still a bit skeptic about what the healer actually is capable of. The subjects are once again blindfolded so that they can't see who's doing what and when. If we can see some results on our screens when the healer is giving the treatment, comparing it to when someone else is there, then we might just have to accept that there's an effect and that it's working. Maybe we can't explain it in a scientific way, and maybe it's not even meant that we should explain it. Again, there's a very big difference between my hands and the healer's hands on both of our subjects. Christina, can you see some differences? Yes, I can clearly see a difference between the real healing and the healing that we were trying to fake. The subject's body is a lot more relaxed with an experienced healer, 45% more. And the difference is even bigger with subject number 2. Yes, here is even bigger difference. I'd say almost twice as much between the real and the false healer. This is actually very surprising and interesting, and it's reliable because we have all this equipment and instruments. Even if you can't see anything, you can feel the difference between us? Yes, I remember going back up into my head and thinking, what's happening? Did he stop? I got a bit confused. What about the University Hospital in Aalborg? Can the staff and their equipment help us figure out the difference between my hands and Samananda's? In this final experiment, we will look directly into the brain to see if there's any measurable difference in the effect from my healing compared to Samananda's. Once again, it's a big difference in the reactions of the body depending on the hands, but we cannot say why or what is happening. Exactly what he is doing is hard to say, but the subjects couldn't see anything, and Lass was entering from the side, without any noise. The only trick that they might have done is that they could have agreed on a specific time on when to start and when to stop the reactions, but that doesn't make any sense. Maybe they're fooling us, but at least we can't figure it out. Well, no, I can't figure it out either. I don't know what he did or what happened. Apparently, she can somehow feel or notice his hands differently comparing to mine. Is there something about his hands or what? What is our conclusion? Well, I guess we can't really tell. There are also these mind readers standing in another room than their subjects, which we can't explain either. I guess we have to conclude that this is out of our neurobiological understanding. My name is Robert Sepehr. I'm an anthropologist. My published work is available on Amazon, as well as through various other major book outlets. They make a great gift. If you'd like to support my work, you could do that through patreon.com. There should be a link in the description section for those that are interested. I appreciate it. Thank you. Please hit the like button and subscribe for future updates. As always, I look forward to reading your comments, so please leave me your thoughts below. Please have a wonderful weekend, and I hope to see you again soon.